Hosting for the Dice Tower is generously provided by Cool Stuff Inc. Cool Stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com. Thanks for your support. The Dice Tower, episode 459.
Works of Art.
Welcome to The Dice Tower, a podcast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On today's show, TV's Jorge Garcia joins us to talk about his tale of betrayal, tell us about finding game groups while on location, and give me some acting notes. Plus, Geoff makes us wonder if we really know how good we are at games. Mike attempts to convert a friend, and we present our top 10 games with the best card art. I'm Eric Summerer, and here's your host, the Michelangelo to my Raphael, Tom Vassell.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage...
Oh, yeah.
That is what you're talking about.
It has nothing to do with the masters of art in any way.
I don't know. I've never really liked Michelangelo that much. Overrated.
Sure, he was a hack.
Raphael, but Michelangelo... I'm just ensuring here that I'm going to get some negative emails.
As an artist?
Yes.
I'm sorry, am I allowed to talk yet?
No, you could talk. No, Michelangelo is I don't know. He's okay. I like Raphael
Sure,
better.
just he's a meh guy.
No, wait, are we talking about turtles or are we talking about the art world?
Whoever designed those turtles has ruined art talk forever.
It always devolves into April O'Neil and Casey Jones. Whenever you just try and bring up the masters.
And since the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is like rebooted now, my kids, if I'll be like, oh, Leonardo, oh, the turtle. Hang on. Shut up. I'm talking about Leonardo da Vinci. Is that his full name? Stop. All right. Well, folks, my name is Tom Vassell.
Hi there. I'm Eric Summerer.
And this is a show neither about classic I was about to say 90s cartoons. Is that right?
Yeah, early 90s, late 80s, I think.
And then some people are already saying it's not a cartoon, it's a comic book first. We get it. You're cool. Nor is it about art-ish. It's actually about board games. So we're going to jump into that. But before we do, in just 2 episodes, not next episode, but the episode after that, will be live recorded at the UK Gaming Expo. So I do hope that if you are in the United Kingdom or within a 500-mile radius, that you come by and say hi to us there. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in our next episode. But we're just getting people pumped about that. And the events at Gen Con went on sale. And for the first time in a long time, our event didn't sell out.
Oh, that's actually good.
Yes,
I'd like
I'm
to
not upset
sell
about
it
that.
later.
Because that means we can talk about it without having people say, well,
I just heard about it and it's sold out.
So I'm looking here. At the time of us recording it, there are still 500 seats left.
That's great. That's good. I like that.
Right. But at the same time, please do sell it out. That would be great for us. Not that we care. We're not getting any of that money. That all goes to Gen Con.
That is true, yes.
But we would like to fill the room because that's cool. So we got 700 people so far, but we can get 1,200. I can feel it. And Origins. Once again, I'm going to remind you that Origins did not put our event in the book because I don't know why.
For reasons.
So it's 9 o'clock Saturday night. You need a generic ticket to get in. Information is on our website about that.
Awesome.
Whew. All right. Tales of horror. Tales of annoyance. We do those.
We do.
Every once in a while.
And they're usually anonymous, and then we make fun of the people who sent them in often.
Well, what happens is I get the email, and I take the name off of it and put it into the document. I do that so that we don't accidentally ever read the names out loud. And also because, well, when you're cutting and pasting from an email, it's just easy to leave the name out because that's how cutting and pasting works. I don't know why.
Okay.
This is why in our Q&As, when we get to them and Eric's like, from an anonymous person, it's because my
Tom took the name
cutting
off.
and pasting didn't get the person's name.
But for the tales, it's on purpose.
For the tales, it's on purpose. So if we mock you when you send in a tale, we don't even know who you are unless you email us and correct us. which I believe may have happened here.
It may have. So which tale was this?
I wouldn't call it a correction.
A clarification, I guess. It's all in the way you tell the story, I believe, is how it works. Yes, this was the tale we talked about.
That's what it is. It was a critique on performance.
Oh, great. Thank you.
And I love when Eric gets critiqued on performance.
Oh, man.
So, this was a Dead of Winter, I believe, was the game, right?
Correct.
And the person telling the tale had stabbed their girlfriend, not in the back, because it was pretty blatant. It was more in the face. And I believe I may have said something along the lines of, that seems slightly a
little over the top.
I can't judge.
Yeah.
And Eric said, rotten scoundrel.
I'm sure that's exactly what I said.
If you go back and listen, that's what past Tom will have edited the episode to be.
So little did we know that the gentleman sending this in may be known by some of you folks.
All right, so we're welcoming him to the show to clear the air. So welcome. Well,
okay.
Now here's the thing. Now we're gonna have people email us. Oh, I want to clear the air too.
Oh man.
So hopefully this will be our one and only time I won't even say that because it might happen again. Anyway, we want to welcome Jorge Garcia to the show. Thanks for coming on with us.
Thank you.
Now, if people do not know who you are in gaming, you designed what game?
Not one. I haven't designed a single game.
Perhaps they know you outside of gaming then.
More likely, yes.
You can be slightly immodest here. That's fine.
Are you asking for my credits?
Yeah,
well,
sure,
I was
why
on
not?
a TV show called Lost, which definitely got some attention. I'm currently on Hawaii 5-0, which you will be coming back for a new season in the fall.
Nice.
That's basically plugs-wise. Ridiculous 6 on Netflix. It's a part like I've never done before in my life.
Oh, I haven't watched that yet. I'll have to swing around.
And I played very meanly Dead of Winter.
Okay, well, we're going to get to that Dead of Winter story in a bit. But before we do that, let's start out with some milder stuff as the games that we have played recently, because I'm very excited to talk about Star Trek Frontiers.
Ooh.
Not because I like the game so much as because Eric hasn't played it yet.
Man. Yes. Go ahead.
All right. Well, first of all, Eric, I played with a guy who likes Star Trek more than you.
Okay. There are lots of people that like it more than me.
Before we started, because I said I'm going to say these guys' names incorrectly, and I'm going to say I don't know who this guy is, and that's going to infuriate you.
Wow.
But I just apologize.
Did you call him Dr. Spook?
No, I'm not that bad. But when I get to these Klingons, I don't know the difference between most of them. I'm like, oh yeah, I saw that guy. He was in that one episode. What did he do? And then people are already shaking their heads sadly. How can you not know, Vassal?
Oh, that reminded me of a time that someone who had seen one of the Star Trek movies was telling was kind of confused about the time travel aspect of one of JJ's. I think it might have been the first one even, and he was talking to my girlfriend at the time, and he was like trying to get clarification. So you're telling me like the young Spark was talking to the older Spark? Just that it was so adorable. Now every time he comes up, we call him Spark.
There you go.
Tony Stank. All right. So Star Trek Frontiers, for those of you who might not know, is a reworking of Mage Knight, the board game, designed by Vlaada Chvátil. And this one has Andrew Parks stepping in. And what they did was they took the Mage Knight theme out and then squeezed the game a little bit and put the Star Trek theme on, and it's pretty much the same game. There's some minor differences, but it's pretty much the same. If you know how to play one, you'll know how to play the other, which I think people should like because Mage Knight is pretty highly regarded. It's still pretty long. Even the very first basic scenario is going to take you probably a couple hours, but it's very in-depth. It's a deck-building game in which you send your spaceship out and you are fighting Romulans and Dominion and blowing up planets or visiting them, sending away teams down and negotiating with them. It's pretty vicious, actually, for Star Trek, because as far as I can tell, Star Trekians, the Federation at least, is always kind of like, hey, what's up? But they fight a lot in this game. So there's 4 players. You can play as Picard or Cisco, and then 2 Klingons, one one Klingon dude and 2 Klingon sisters, whose names I'm not remembering. Sorry, guys. This is the best quality components that WizKids has ever done. Now, that's still less than other companies, probably. Okay. But the game came punched out, Eric, in vacuum trays.
Wow.
I was very impressed. And all the tiles were actual tiles. They weren't like card stock. And the spaceships, it comes with 4 Borg cubes. The Borg are like the big bad guys in this one.
Wow.
And those are the clicky things that are in this game, but whatever, that just shows you what level. But every once in a while I'd be like, oh yeah, so sending this down to this planet, that's like attacking a dragon. I would remember what it was in
Mage Knight version, yeah.
But it's still a good, and you know what? I think the Star Trek theme is better for it. You know, I think the theme of going out and exploring and discovering new worlds, I think that works better than going out and in a fantasy world. So I like it a lot. I really do. I mean, I have to be in the mood to play a lengthy game, and even though it goes up to 4 players, I'm not sure that I would want to play with more than 3, honestly. Have you played Mage Knight, either of you?
Yes.
Yeah, I played Mage.
Yeah, well then you've basically played this game. It just was called, it's called Star Trek. I know there's some other changes to it, but I didn't have them side by side, and it's been, a year or 2 since I played Mage Knight, so I couldn't really clarify. I just remembered I'd read a rule and go, oh yeah, I know how to do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's how you do that. So, very good game. That's Star Trek Frontiers.
How many scenarios are inside the box?
10.
Okay.
Wow, I was ready for that. I'm so excited. Ask me something else.
Are there any other figures other than ships? Are there individual character figurines too?
No, there are character cards.
Okay.
And they have most of the main characters from Star Trek Next Generation, and maybe 1 or 2 from Deep Space Nine, and a bunch of Klingons and Borg and people who I don't know what show they're from, except for 7 of 9. I know that she's from Voyager.
Okay. So that entire time period, those 3 series.
Right. That's the best time period anyway.
It's the best.
By far. I'm trying to tick people off today.
Good. Well done. So first for me today is a farming game from Yellow. It's called Happy Pigs. In this game, you are raising pigs, and they come in different sizes. You've got little piglets, and then you've got small, medium, and large pigs. And you have fields that are sort of grid-based, and obviously the larger the pig, the more space it's going to take up in your field. You can buy more fields, you can buy pigs, you can feed these pigs, make them bigger, you can mate the pigs so you end up with piglets, all sorts of wonderful things. And of course, then you can sell those pigs to market to make money, because that's the ultimate goal here. Make as much money as possible. Now, the way you do this is with this action selection mechanism. Each round, there's going to be like a season that's going to be flipped up that may have some sort of overarching rule in the spring, that particular section of the season. And it also has a bunch of numbers on it that says that these 4 actions, the feeding of your pigs, the mating of your pigs, the buying of things from the market, and the selling of your pigs to the market. Those 4 things, and each of those actions can be executed a certain number of times each round. Then everybody, all the players, simultaneously takes their little tiles and secretly chooses one of these actions. You all flip up. If you are the only one to choose that action, you're going to get the full number of activations. So if, say, mating can happen 7 times, then you may activate that 7 times. But if somebody else has chosen the same action, you have to share that action. And you go from the start player and sort of trade off. I'll take one, you take one, I take one, you take one, and you split up that number of actions. If there are 3 players, you may need to split it even farther. And the start player is going to get to do it more than the other players if it's uneven in the distribution. Then you actually activate all of these things, and any activations you don't use, you get paid for. And you continue like this for, let's see, it's a full year, 4 seasons, and there are 4 rounds in each season, so 16 turns, buying and selling pigs and growing them and mating them and vaccinating them. You have to vaccinate the pigs, otherwise they die from season to season, so you have to sort of cultivate your flock of pigs. And then most money wins. The game looks very cutesy. It's a very cartoony look, but it's a pretty solid resource management game and planning game, and there's a lot of choices to make, and a lot of the game has to do with outguessing your opponents. What are they trying to do? Because I don't want to choose the same thing they're going to choose, or maybe I do just to mess with them. And if you don't get all the actions or activations that you need, you may be really hosed when it comes to the end of a season and you don't have enough vaccinations to keep your pigs alive. Neat game. I liked it, and I'm looking forward to trying it with my kids. That's Happy Pigs from Yellow.
Yeah, although I'll say it looks like a kid's game, but it's still pretty. It's
got some meat to it.
Honestly.
Yeah. It could be played with kids. It's not that complicated, but there's certainly meat here and exploration here for adult players. Even though it looks like it's a cartoony game.
I actually played for the very first time face-to-face a game of Tichu, or a few games of Tichu.
Shout out to Mary.
Tichu is a game that there's many people like on the Geek that are quite obsessed with, almost in like the way people get obsessed with chess, where it's like, top 10 first moves in Tichu, that kind of sense. And I played it only on the iPad against computers forever, and to kind of actually finally play it in front of people. And it's also interesting having to explain to people. It says, okay, yes, we have all this, but then there are these 4, we'll call them magic cards, and each has their own little thing. Was a little bit for them to grasp, especially like the Phoenix, because it has 2 different roles in it. But it definitely changes the whole dynamic of the game to actually get to play with humans, I gotta say. Just like playing any game. So that was kind of my first game. I mean, I don't know how much explaining of Tichu we have to do. It's pretty well known by probably the people who listen to, but essentially it's that trick-taking style climbing game. And first one out gets points, and then you can bet that you can get out first. You can bet if you do it without seeing some of your cards, and to get extra bonuses. And so the difference in points because you can go heavy in the negative and just keep having to play Hail Marys to try and catch up. It adds some drama to a card game for sure.
So do you want to play more of it?
I do. I mean, that'd be a great game too. It feels like the kind of game that would be great, like if you went vacationing like with another couple. To just like, that's a good kind of game when you're in like the hotel lobbies and stuff. That moment before you go out to dinner. I think it would. It's a good game and it's compact. It's very like I definitely feel portability in games is an appealing thing. Like for example, the game Spiele so lange du kannst is another great game because it can always fit in my backpack and I take it everywhere.
I agree, but I'm saying this: if you're ever at a gaming convention and someone comes up and goes, "Hey, you want to play Tichu?" You need to say no and then start running.
Okay, I get you.
Because those guys are sharks.
Well, I do totally understand the.
I won't bet on it.
I understand the confusion teaching it to people. Explaining those 4 special cards is the real rub and the difficulty in teaching this to new players. My parents just totally glazed over when I tried to teach them Tichu, and they just didn't. They couldn't grasp the special cards at all.
Yeah, or just the half-step thing. And then,
yes.
So, like, someone threw out the Phoenix and said, ace. And I was like, nope, that's just, you just at queen and a half now.
Yeah. Yes.
But you said it was wild. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Part of this.
This is why I play Gang of 4. It's just much simpler.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to talk about Linkee here. Linkee is made by the company who made Bananagrams. Eric, did you get a copy of this?
No, I did not.
I thought for some reason they said they sent you one. But this is a game. I played variations on this before. Essentially, there's a card. You know what? I'm going to go get the game. Hang on one second.
Okay. So what's the weather like down in Hawaii?
It's warm and humid. We're kind of overcast, which adds a mugginess to it.
Cool. And that's why I just can't deal with Tom on certain days. Oh, he's back.
All right, so you guys are going to play against each other. Yes, I can hear you, Eric. So you guys are going to play against each other here. And what this does is I'm going to ask you 4 questions, but you don't give me the answer. You just think the answer's in your head.
Okay.
And as soon as you think of what the common link is between these answers, you say it.
Ah.
Make sense?
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
All right. So let's see. We'll start here, okay? So I'm going to ask a question, but don't answer it. Just answer it in your head. And
Right.
once you think you know the link between them, then you set me. Okay, so number 1, what is the Spanish word for a male friend? Number 2, what was the profession of Athos, Porthos, and Aramis?
Okay.
Number 3, what is the scale used to measure the severity of a burn to the skin? Number 4, which band was famous for writing the songs Tragedy, Night Fever, and Massachusetts?
Huh.
We're trying to find a connection between those answers.
Between all those answers.
That's correct. I can give you a clue. The clue is hat trick.
Oh, they're all threes.
That's correct.
Ah.
They all come in threes. All right, let's try another one because Eric just didn't get that one at all. Okay,
Sure.
Here's one. Question 1. Beyonce once said, I don't think you're ready for this blank. Number 2. In German, they might call this person her or hair. I'm sorry. What would we say in English? Number 3. The most common ink colors in a pen are blue, red, and blank. Number 4. In medicine, what part of the body does renal refer to?
Wow, this is hard.
This is difficult.
Well, it's less difficult when you're playing a game because you can actually write the answers down.
Oh.
Okay.
So you can look at them as on your piece of paper. Also, I'm picking hard ones on purpose.
I was going to say
here's the
peanuts.
Clue. Boston baked.
Beans.
Yes, but you got that just from the clue.
Black beans.
Black
There's
beans.
black beans, kidney beans, Mr. Bean, and jelly
Mr. Bean.
beans.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I actually didn't know that Beyonce said anything about jelly.
I had
but-
jelly, but I thought peanuts was going to be
Yeah. Yeah.
the connection.
Okay. All right.
So when you when you think you know the link, you shout it out. You say Linkee, and then you shout it out. And if you're correct, you get the card. If you're incorrect, you're out of that round, and everyone else gets to go farther. So, I played one time, and the first clue, the answer was strawberry, and I was like, "Oh, fruits!"
Right.
But it was actually types of ice cream.
Ah.
But I tried,
Right.
just guessing off one word. But I really like the idea. And then you win the card, and the cards have the letters of Linkee on them, Linkee. And once you spell out the whole word, you win. If you get a letter twice, you can save up for it and get 3 letters. You can change them in to get a letter of your choice, which is that part of the game is okay. I could just sit around with the cards and do that all day.
Right.
Now, is that part of the strategy to play the hunch if you think you can guess the category on the first one?
I guess as much strategy as you put in any game. I did that because I just thought it was fun. After a while, I was getting a lot of.
Well, is there a penalty to be wrong?
Well, no, you're out of that
you're out.
round. You can't win if you guess wrong.
Okay, I see.
So there's a lot of cards in the box. I don't know how many, but there's at least a couple hundred here, I think. So I don't know. It's definitely going to be incorporated into the next game show the Dice Tower does.
Oh, yeah, that's
I
a
love
good
the
idea. Yeah. Does it come in a pouch like all the other, like Bananagrams and their other products?
It does not. It comes in a long box that's, well, for teachers, you would know that the 3x5 cards come in almost a size box. It's a little bit thinner than the Time Stories box. So that's Linkee, Linkee.
I like that there's an extra step in that you need to do more than just know the answer to the question.
Right.
Right, and even if you don't know the answer to a question, the other 3 might give you
Lead
an
you to
idea.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So next for me.
Eric, I just got this game in the mail, and I said this has got to be garbage just by the cover alone.
The next one for me to talk about is called The Legends of Draxia. Now, this is not to be confused with the Heroes of Graxia.
Legends of Graxia, right?
Heroes of Graxia was a couple years ago. It was also sort of a generic fantasy game. This is a generic fantasy game as well. And it comes in a tuck box, like a card box, but there's also an optional mat that they sent along with the review copy.
Did your mat smell?
It was fragrant. Fragrant indeed. That's how you know it's fresh.
Okay.
So in the Legends of Draxia, you are dealt a character that gives you some bonuses at the end of the game. That's pretty much all they do. No special abilities during the game. They just have, extra points for doing things. The object is to score points by either building cathedrals or defeating bad guys, monsters, out of a monster deck. And there's a whole array of buildings that will help you do that, and a bunch of resources. There's 4 different resources. There's stone, there's food, there's bows, and there's swords, and there's gold. That's a 5th resource. And you will be given a certain number of these to start the game, and you'll draw a couple at the beginning of each round. You need to turn these resources in to do stuff. You can, on your turn, either build a building or go looking for monsters. And if you do a monster, you flip up a monster, and you maybe have enough swords or bows to defeat that monster, and then you get points and maybe some sort of reward. If you don't defeat the monster, nothing happens. You just have spent your turn. If you build a building, you turn in resources, and then you get a building in front of you that can then be tapped on your turn and on a future turn to earn you some more resources. Now, what's weird is that all of the basic buildings, there's a building that produces food, there's one that produces stone, there's one that produces bows, and there's one that produces swords. They all require 1 stone and 1 food to build in the first place. So the first thing you're going to do is build either a farm or a quarry so that you can then afford to buy more buildings. And then your next one is probably going to build the other one of the farm and the quarry so that you can tap both of them on a turn and then build any one of those basic buildings for free. And then eventually you will earn enough of those that you can build a cathedral, which costs 3 stone and 3 food. And then you can build those once a turn and do that for the rest of the game. Or you can go the monster route and just collect bows and arrows and go after monsters, which actually is worth a lot of points as well. But those are pretty much your 2 paths. The whole game felt like it was on rails. You're forced to go in one direction or the other. And if you look at your opponents, the guy sitting next to me was able to buy a couple of spells. I forgot to mention those. You can buy spells for gold, which can give you special sort of interrupts and abilities. And that let him build multiple buildings on a turn because he got the haste spell, which put him ahead of the curve, so he was building those buildings and getting those cathedrals more quickly than I was, and I was trying to do the same thing but didn't get those particular spells, and so was just pretty much hosed. The monster deck is just a luck of the draw. Maybe you get a stupid little skeleton, and maybe you get a dragon, and you may have enough stuff in your hand to defeat them. You might not. Who knows? There are other issues with the game about, sort of graphic design and rules clarity and other things, but it all boils down to the fact that it's not really fun. I just felt constrained, and it just didn't. Blah.
I knew it. I judged the book by its cover. And you know why I judged? That's it. I'm tired of this. I've been always ragging on Trading in the Mediterranean. Generic fantasy is now just as bad, if not worse.
Yeah, at least Trading in the Mediterranean has the possibility of, interesting mechanisms and, history. And also, this has the generic female warrior with the totally impractical armor. And
yeah, it looked like it was done. I just want to smack. No, okay, that's too physically violent. I'm going to smack the game, okay? I was so annoyed. I saw this game. I said, Z, you touched it. It's yours. He did not agree. So that we all argued over it. But now, apparently, Eric has touched it, so it's Eric's. But, yeah. The gameplay would have had to been amazing to overcome that just huge bad first impression I got, and it doesn't sound like it's even close to that.
The economy's really loose. It feels like it's on rails, as I said. It just doesn't seem to work. It's not fun.
Legends of Borea.
Legends of Draxia.
I just realized I wrote down like twice as many games as you guys did, so I'm just going to jump ahead to last weekend I played Ladies and Gentlemen. Ladies and Gentlemen is everyone partners up. For the most part, half of the partnership will be the gentlemen, the other half will be the ladies, and the goal of each team is for the lady at the end of the week to be the most elegant at the ball.
That's me.
And this is done by each side of the team playing their own versions of the game independently. On the gentleman's side, they are basically, it's almost like a memory game, or we're just looking for things to pick stocks, which would then create possible combinations to win contracts, which is a way to earn money. While, and this sounds worse than it is, the ladies go shopping. And the effort is to find the best gown, which is a requirement, because you can't show up at the ball without one, or the best accessories, or the best, gloves, and servants are also part of it as well, to add to your elegance for the ball at the end of 6 days of doing this. And then as the women choose what they want to buy, they pass it to their husbands, and their husbands have to either buy it for them, put it on hold, which still costs £100 to do, or just return it and say, this is too expensive or whatever. But part of the catch is any conversations you have with your partner in the game has to basically be in character. So you can't give specifics, so you kind of give hints like, oh, dearie, it appears I had a good day at work today. Or, hon, could you please pick up these things for me this week? or whatever, to just kind of gauge where everybody is at in the partnership. And it's just the forcing these type of conversations and these type of comments between each other is really where the fun of this game lies. The ridiculousness of this Victorian-era premise.
Yeah, you really have to get into the mood for this one, I think. I know. I wanted to ask your opinion on the other game you put on your list here, Escape from the Aliens in Outer Space.
Yeah, this is something. Actually, it was one of your lists. I think when I was Googling scary games, this had come up on a Dice Tower list, and that's where I first kind of was exposed to it. And then there was this pre-order for the whatever it was called, like this Ultimate version, which I just discovered is out now, so I was able to put in my shipping address, so I'll be getting one. I was using a print and play version still.
Yeah, the Osprey version just came out of this, and it's amazing. It uses flip books, and you write on them with erasable marker.
Oh, great!
So everyone gets a flip book, and you can all write on, and you just say, okay, we're flipping to map 3 or whatever. So you see, in the print version, you're looking at all the maps; they all look almost the same.
Yeah.
Here, you can make sure you're on the same map, and it has just a nice box. It's really impressive, and I mean, honestly, Osprey's not really known for the quality yet, so I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, when we were playing it, we were thinking, like,
game.
If there's a dry erase version to do this, where you can erase and reuse stuff, but the flipbook idea is great.
Did you like it?
I like it a lot. This is the game I like. This is a great game for when the power goes out, and you come and you get like your camping lanterns and candles, and you just sit around and you play it, because there's this kind of underlying tension as you play of the mystery, because like the humans have no idea what's a safe place to go because they know they're being hunted, and the aliens just are pretty good at keeping quiet and could end up being right next to you, and that tension is really what makes this game. Considering it's a game you just play on paper. Yeah, and I also then I got the I got one of those apps that gives you like ambient noises for when you play.
Oh, nice.
And so I was just adding these extra like little like bleep bloops and the sound of like a spaceship engine running to kind of add to the ambiance of it.
Nice.
Oh, that is good.
Yeah, Tom, I played.
That's a good game.
You actually gave me a copy of the original version of this, and I just never found the right group to play it with. And Osprey Games did pass along the new edition, and I'm looking forward to giving it a whirl. So I have read the rules, and I know sort of the ins and outs, but I never actually got a chance to play it.
Well, the new version, you might be able to, like, tempt your gaming group.
Maybe.
All right, well, Eric does not do the final editing of the show. That is me. I need to clarify this because in our last show we said, and now for a report from Greg on the Gathering of Friends. And then there was no report. So, sorry about that. Hopefully Tom will get it right this time.
So here's Greg with a report on the Gathering of Friends.
Hi, Greg Schlosser here, recently back from what I believe is my 16th participation in Alan Moon's Gathering of Friends. Now, this is an annual invitation-only event hosted by renowned game designer Alan Moon. The Gathering is one of my gaming highlights. It is first and foremost an opportunity for gaming enthusiasts to gather to play games and socialize. I vividly recall my first gathering back in 1998. I was the poster boy for the child in a toy shop stereotype. I knew absolutely no one when I arrived, save for a few folks I had only met online on the old Rec Games board forum. Now, any trepidation I may have harbored was quickly dissipated, as everyone was extremely welcoming and friendly. Everyone back then was only about 110 or so people. Now, numbers approach and even exceed 400. At my first event, I scurried from table to table, trying to play as many games as possible. I think my count for that 5-day stay exceeded 60 games. As time passed, however, the gathering became more about getting together and socializing with new and old friends rather than playing games. Oh, sure, I still play games, but the total has diminished to only about 24 for that same time period. I spend much more time chatting with folks, both at the gaming and the dinner tables. The older I get, the more and more I realize that the true joy of life is found in relationships. Games are great, but relationships are even greater. I'm no longer feverishly anxious to jump into the next game, being much more content to visit and chat with folks. At this year's gathering, I arrived on a Tuesday evening and departed on Sunday morning. Now, over the years, I attempted the 10-day slog twice. While it was enjoyable, I found that I just simply missed my wife and home too much, and frankly just wore down after 4 or 5 days. It was great to visit with old friends, most of whom I only get to see this one time a year. Our paths just simply do not cross at other times. But I did make sure to take time away from the gaming table, to do a bit of sightseeing and, of course, some exercising. Each year I organize a basketball outing, which helps run off some of the delicious food that I get to consume. I also enjoyed a ride on the Maid of the Mist with Tom Vassell and the Dice Tower crew, along with seemingly hundreds of Japanese tourists. I also strolled around Goat Island and ventured to the Canadian side of the falls, which is a highly commercialized and major tourist destination. So what about the games? Well, there really wasn't a stellar game that had the entire assembly abuzz. Some years there is, and some years there isn't. This year falls into that latter category. The truly outstanding games were released at Essen, and I'd already played most of those. Of the Essen releases that I played, however, for the first time at the gathering, I thoroughly enjoyed Steam Time from Rudiger Dorn. I'd actually delayed playing it as I found the rules confusing, but in reality, the rules were quite easy once they were explained, although the decisions during the game were quite tough. It was probably my favorite game played during the gathering. Of the games released since Essen, I didn't find any of them to be exceptional. I did enjoy Days of Wonder's Quadropolis better than most, and that was just playing the basic version, so look forward to trying the expert version. Now, Niagara Falls is not the easiest place to travel to, but still, I continue to attend the gathering each and every year because of the people. It's just so much fun to get together with such great folks to socialize, dine, and, yes, play games. Kudos to Alan Moon and his lovely wife Janet for organizing and hosting such a tremendous event.
All right, so we said we were going to come back to this story. So I guess before we get to the current evilness of your gaming, let's get into how you got into gaming in the first place. So how did you discover gaming, and like how much gaming do you do now, things like that?
Let's see, I guess when I was a kid, I remember going to buy comic books at a place in San Clemente that was called I Love Games 2. And whenever I'd go there, I was always kind of curious, like, because there was always like a table in the back where they were either playing Dungeons and Dragons or they had something that they were doing something back there, and I just started kind of getting an interest. And I was always interested in seeing games that I'd never seen before. And I would buy games at this place. They were like, oh, this is something I've never heard of. And I'd take it and present it to my friends because none of them had ever heard of it. And that was kind of the entertaining. I remember back then there was 2 games that stuck out. I remember there was a game called Moolah. Moolah was just basically roll and move, pretty much a Monopoly-style board. But what sold it to me was you got little wallets that when you got your money, you put it in the little wallet. And if you ever landed on a space that someone else was on, you mugged them and got all the money in their wallet. And so I was like, mugging, perfect. That's for me. And then another game that I liked a lot back then was called Grandmaster, which was a card game in which you try to become the Grandmaster by mastering 3 of the martial arts. There's like a bunch of different martial arts cards that you can master. It's kind of similar to Bloodborne, where instead of collecting miles, you're collecting days of studying a martial art. And those are kind of the first few games that really, I just kind of got into games that nobody knew about and to pull them out and present them to my friends. But then it all kind of went quiet as far as my gaming for a while. And Scrabble got resurrected in my life when I was on Lost. We started playing it on Palm Pilots and then later iPhones. And throughout this time, I also was always a reader of Games Magazine. And it was mostly for the part in the middle with the crosswords and stuff, but I'd always look at their game reviews as well, and that's where I started hearing about other board games that, again, I'd never heard of before. And then they put out one of their Best of the Year episode, and they had their Hall of Fame list.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of decided that I wanted to educate myself and went on a quest to locate everything that was on that list that I didn't know. And, it's like games like, I still like to call it Settlers of Catan, and it was still called that back then, was things that I had heard about, even though I'd never actually played it, and then I finally bought a box, and the box sat on the shelf for a while, and then suddenly an app came out for it, so I was able to learn it through the app, because I didn't really have anyone at the time. I'd be buying games without having people to, hey, do you want to crack this open and see if we can figure out how to play this? And then little by little I started buying more games that way. I'd run into Rich Summer a few times at like events, and then seeing that he was really into gaming, I reached out to him on Twitter, and then he invited me to his place, and we played games. He introduced me to Last Night on Earth and Escape Temple, and that was when I first also started. And also I started listening to you guys, because there was because there was stuff that would come up on your shows that I could then go to Rich. I go, hey, what is an Ameritrash? Or I'd go to him. I'd be like, hey, what is like I thought it was work replacement.
Oh,
I do things like that sometimes. And I'd be like, okay, so what's a game what is this? And so then as we would play a game, I'd be like, okay, so what type of game would you call this? And that's kind of where it started. And then that led me to Board Game Geek, and then it just kind of became, I'd listen to like your guys' reviews, and I'd start making a list, and so then I'd go seeking these games out based on how excited you seem to be about them.
No, that's fair enough.
It's funny. There is a thing that where you sit and you try and, because now that I'm more, in tune to your styles of reviewing, where it's like going, all right, if Eric says it's interesting, I'm still going to pass.
Yes.
You start doing things like that.
What's the gaming scene like in Hawaii? Are there a lot of friendly local gaming stores?
We have 2 really strong local gaming stores that do gaming there. There's some that constantly just have tables open where people can come and they have their store copies of games, and people also just bring their own games to play. And that's really good. And there's another one they carry games, but they don't have the space to actually do gaming events there. But that's the place I like to go to, because that's one of those kind of stores where stuff has been on the shelf for a long time, and you can find things that have you didn't know about back then, but they've gone out of print, but they still have one on the shelf.
Still one of those few copies
that's a little
floating
faded
around
from being in the window. And I'm like, oh, there's a few times that's happened. But it's pretty good. I just kind of have our my group of friends. There's just 4 of us, but we get together almost every Sunday afternoon and play stuff.
Do you ever play at the game store, or do you normally play like at home or something?
We have a couple times. There's times because one of the first times we did it, it was a heavy. I think it was most of the tables are Warhammer tables,
Right.
essentially. So they have like big grass fields and giant mechs and stuff on it, and then there's this small group in the side, and we're playing board games, but there's so much noise going on, and there's certain board games you need to be able to hear, like More de Rosa. We were trying to play More de Rosa there, but you couldn't hear where any of the cubes are dropping, and things like that. And there are. I'm more of a homebody. It's easier for me to just, why don't you just come over here and we'll play here.
Okay. No, that's interesting. It was almost like Rich was like a sensei there, teaching you into the ways of gaming.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
All right, so let's fast forward here to this story here. So, if I understand the story correctly, and I'm paraphrasing here, essentially you had everything figured out, and you said, this is what we need to do, and your girlfriend said, no, I don't believe you, and you said, fine, and then you won, and then as you're winning, you stabbed her on the way out and said, that's what will happen if you don't listen to me next time.
Okay. Well, okay. Sort of. I did have everything figured out. I will say that. But this group is very gun-shy about... They felt to kick someone out of the colony was... they were apprehensive to it. They didn't want to essentially, like, I guess, hurt anyone's feelings or something. And that's why it took me this long explanation that's saying that for the sake of the game, we could do this and succeed. And just for the record, as it turned out, I was right, because that person was the betrayer who we did kick out. And so they weren't going to do it, so I created a deal that I would offer up a card, which my girlfriend needed if she voted my way. But I'm a pirate. I'm playing the pirate. And if you make a deal with a pirate, you're trouble can happen. I mean, I'm a pirate. Well, to trust a pirate is a mistake across the board. And so,
so you're saying next time I play a game with you, I should just not trust you, period.
Well, you just don't let him play the pirate.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Hey, in the new version, there's a monkey.
I mean, there's this... so now you can play
with the dog and the monkey, I guess.
Mm-hmm. They can fight.
What's a monkey going to do in the cold?
Well, what's a dog? The dog's running around sometimes on a...
Dogs can handle cold weather. But I don't think
they can shoot a shotgun or drive a...
They can't do anything. They can't vote, but they can not get bit. That's what they can do. But yeah, so now, but also a lot of it is like the dynamic of our group. We're 4 people. We're pretty close. And so when we play, it is kind of a free-for-all. Mm-hmm. And, some games bleed into other games. And there's relish when you stab someone in the back.
And you said to me in the email that she helped you write the story.
This isn't going to help me on the forums at all. I just discovered.
No, but she said she was okay with you saying it in the story.
Oh yeah. Well, when the story came out and we listened to it, I was going, oh, you know what? When it's read by the Skip Hampton character, it really comes across badly.
Oh, that guy's a jerk.
He is a jerk.
Because Skip Hampton's used to being betrayed. So he's reading it as if something's going to happen to him, but the betrayer needs a little more charm.
So you see, Eric, it just got all passed onto you.
Yep.
I'm just saying there should be 2 Tale of Betrayal characters.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the nicer one?
Depending on the type of story.
Like whether they're being betrayed or not.
Hampton and evil Skip Hampton.
Ah. Skip's evil twin.
The one with the goatee.
Flip.
Evil Skip Hampton. He would be in Universe 3, I think. All right. Whew. Okay. Well.
All right. I'll take those notes. Thank you, Jorge.
Let's jump here then into something that will uplift everyone.
Tales of Amazement. Our cherished Texas gaming group and a recent family visit has made me fully appreciate the intangible charm of board games. I didn't have a picture-perfect American family growing up. My mom and dad got married and started our family very young, right after graduating high school. My dad enrolled in the Army and served for around 5 years until my sister was born. My sister had a lot of health issues early in her life, and at the time my dad was going to be deployed to Germany for, I believe, 2 years, and he didn't want us to live so far away from everyone, so he left the Army. Well, the Army was the support of our family for many reasons. The health coverage, we lived on base in Fort Ord, California, and my mom didn't work in order to care for my sister and I. Things were rough for a while until my parents found full-time jobs in Arizona that could support us. After the Army and struggling to get by, I could see that my parents were no longer as close as they used to be. Our family was never incredibly close growing up, as my sister and I would often go hang out with friends down the street because all we did at home was watch TV, eat meals, or do homework. As we grew older, my sister and I also got involved with sports, and so everyone's schedules were different and we saw each other even less. We've had family vacations to Disneyland and Las Vegas, things like that, but overall, our family didn't do much together on a consistent basis. After college, I got a job offer in Texas, and so my wife and I moved there, leaving our family and friends behind in Arizona. I got into board games through my RPG meetup group in Kingwood, Texas. In between RPG sessions, we'd play board games, and that's how I fell in love with board games and stopped playing RPGs. Some of the first games we got introduced to were Flux, Ticket to Ride, Food Fight, Kingsburg, and Love Letter. The same group embraced my wife into the hobby as well, and we've enjoyed meeting new people, playing more games, and creating fantastic memories. As of last year, we moved over to Nevada to pursue another job offer, and sadly, we had to leave our friends we made, though we still keep in contact with them. Well, this last winter, my parents came to visit my wife and I for the holidays, and I wanted to see if I could show them some games for us to do together. I could tell that my parents were reluctant to play after I proposed playing board games. I'm sure they thought they'd be geeky or complicated. Over the time of their visit, I showed them Catan, Liar's Dice, Dixit, and No Thanks. My parents had so much fun. I haven't seen them that happy, laughing, and full of energy in a long time. They actually asked if we could devote one night of their trip to playing games. I'm sure this may sound silly to some, but that trip was better than any vacation I've ever had. Not simply because we were playing games, but because my family was genuinely having a great time together, something that I didn't have much of growing up. My parents asked to have us bring games over the next time we plan a trip together. I am very glad to discover this hobby, and I only wish I had discovered it sooner in my life, as we've made some wonderful friends through it. When my wife was pregnant, one of our friends from the gaming group who does photography on the side very graciously offered to take professional pictures of our family free of charge as a baby shower gift, because her and her husband knew we didn't have any family in Texas and never had a baby shower. The gift was very kind, and we are very grateful to have met such wonderful people in our lives. This hobby doesn't feel like a bunch of snobs simply gathering antiques or collectibles for a status title or to make money. They're genuine and warm-hearted people simply wanting to have fun, putting aside any troubles they may have, and just have a great time with one another, gathered around a table. Huzzah!
That is a good story. In fact, this was one that was not even written as a tale of amazement, but the person told this to me because of something else, and I said, "Wow, you got to turn that in. That's a great story."
Type that up.
So
yeah,
go ahead.
One of the things that I was going to say is, that reminds me because of going to like the local Hawaiian game groups those couple times that I did go. When I'd find myself in cities, a lot of times for work, just by myself, and it's either just sit in the hotel and watch TV or figure out something to do, it made me just start Googling game stores and game groups. And when I was working in Santa Fe, I found the game group, which was like just down the street from the hotel. So I would go there on nights when I got off of work in time on their game days, and the same thing when I was working in Halifax. There was a game group in Toronto, which is where I had to spend the first night back, and then the first night before I left, because that's where the no, not Toronto. Sorry, it's Halifax. Sorry, I'm confusing my story. But they have their own little game store and game group, and I just kind of went and found, and and they had a group of people who were there who design games, and they just kind of get together and test the games out. So I just kind of went and sat at their table and play tested their games with them.
Yeah.
Nice. It's like you always had a club to join wherever you happen to go.
Yeah. Yeah, and just kind of feel like you find your tribe. There's definitely kind of this kind of feeling going, oh, good. We like similar things, so we can just kind of talk about that. And you kind of gets past some of the general... Having a game there lets you kind of get past any general social things that you need to get past just to start communicating with people.
Yeah, I agree. I was just telling someone at my church the other day about how I can go to almost any city in the world and I can find somebody there who has a common interest and hang out with them probably. And that's kind of a cool thing. I really like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Geoff is not normally known for stirring up controversy. But I want you all to listen to this next episode, or what he says here.
3, 2, 1,
go. It's time for GameTek with Geoff Engelstein, where we find out how games really work.
I enjoy playing the occasional round of the video game StarCraft. I'm not great, not even good. I'd probably rate myself as fair. But most likely I am vastly overestimating how good I actually am. And if I ever really went and participated in ranked or ladder matches, I would find out just how bad. Now, in 1999, 2 psychologists from Cornell University, David Dunning and Dunning-Kruger, did a series of studies to measure how good people thought they were. They gave people's tests in 3 different areas: logic, grammar, and humor. And for the humor test, the experimenters actually collected a series of jokes. And first they asked a panel of professional stand-up comics to rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 for funniness. They then used the average of each joke to determine what the correct answer should be. So then a bunch of Cornell students took the tests. And afterwards, the researchers asked them to estimate how they had done on the test relative to their peers, as well as what percentage of questions they thought they had gotten right. And regardless of the type of test, regardless of age or gender or any other variables, the results were the same. People who actually did poorly on the tests, the unskilled, on average ranked themselves much, much higher than their actual performance. On the humor test, for example, the people who performed at the bottom, who actually performed at the 12th percentile level, thought they had performed at the 58th percentile level. On the other hand, people who actually did well on the test, those that scored around the 90th percentile, they had thought they had actually performed around the 70th. And across all tests, the results were the same. People who performed the worst grossly overestimated just how poorly they had done, and those who were actually the best underestimated how good they were. It's like the old jokes. Most drivers think they are above average. Obviously, half of people are below average, but no one thinks of themselves that way. This effect became known as the Dunning-Kruger effect, and it has been replicated over and over again and refined. People that are unskilled at a task may know they're not the best, but they dramatically underestimate how unskilled they really are. And those at the top who realize how much they know and don't know tend to underestimate just how skilled they are. Now, interestingly, studies have also shown that once someone begins to get trained in an area, once they become just a little bit more skilled, their estimates of how good they are get much closer to reality. They start to see just how much more there is to learn and begin to see the outlines of everything they will need to know to truly become skilled at the task. In the beginning, our lack of knowledge makes us susceptible to the illusion that we are closer to being skilled than we are in any way. Now, I think about this effect often in the gaming world. We live in an age where many of us flit from game to game to game, so few of us are actually experts in any given game. We may be very good at gaming in general, but rare is the game that I, at least, will play 5 or more times. Which is why I get so frustrated when I see people say that a game is broken or that there isn't much strategy after just a single play of the game, particularly with a more complex title. and it has been shown that Dunning-Kruger-like effects are much more prevalent in complex topics. Maybe a particular strategy was dominant in your first play of the game, but that doesn't mean there aren't countermeasures. It doesn't mean that each game will play out the same way. Now, admittedly, sometimes it does, and there are games that I would classify as broken, but most of the time, designers have played their games probably hundreds of times. They are truly experts, and it is the height of hubris to assume that we, in our first play of a game, see something obvious that the designer missed in hundreds of plays. As a personal example, in my design Space Cadets dice duel, you roll lots of dice. And some folks posted on BoardGameGeek that after a single play, it's obvious that the game is all luck. Whoever rolls fastest or rolls the best symbols will win the game. There's no point to playing. This honestly drives me nuts. I've played the game literally hundreds of times, and there is a ton of subtle stuff going on. Gambits and counter gambits that experienced crews can use in each other, and layers to all the tactics. I just want to reach out and challenge those people to a game against me and my kids and see how long they last. Now, on the flip side, when we released the game, I was concerned I wasn't expert enough. I was worried that there was some stratagem or tactic we had missed that would indeed blow the game wide open. In other words, I was on the top end of the Dunning-Kruger situation. I was really an expert, probably the biggest expert in the world, except for my daughter, of course, and I was concerned that I wasn't as good as I thought, that there was something out there I could learn and be better at. We are all susceptible to Dunning-Kruger, both for things we are skilled and unskilled at. This is not about being stupid or incompetent. It's a natural human flaw we all share. But by being aware of it, we can recognize that we are very poor judges of our own skill. This is Geoff Engelstein with GameTek.
Okay, that actually took a different tack than I expected, Eric. I was listening to it going...
I think Geoff wanted to get some stuff off of his chest on that one.
Yeah, I was listening to oh, yeah, okay. Oh, that's true. I know about that, too. I know that most people consider themselves better than average... What? Whoa, is he talking to me? I never said... Here's the thing. I agree-ish, but I have played games before that were clearly broken, and I don't care if the designer has played it 100 times. He played it 100 times badly. Now, that's very rare, and I do agree that a lot of people say, dominant strategy, this, and this, without having... Right. It's like, come on, especially sometimes when I know these designers, and I will give Geoff credit. He is one of the smartest people I know. His daughter is probably smarter, but yes, they're very smart people, and I would be very hesitant to say, this is just luck with any game that he has made. What do you think, Eric?
Well, I think sometimes Geoff and I must listen to the same podcasts because this report came up on another one. It was called How to Do Everything, and I wonder if Geoff listens to that, and that's where he got the idea to talk about this.
Oh, so this is another podcast that brought up the subject, you mean?
Yes.
Well, speaking of first impressions, I'm going to give you guys a first impression of the Cool Mini or Not Expo that I went to a few weeks ago. Just a quick rundown. Me and several other people went to the Cool Mini or Not Expo. Sam and Z went. Rodney Smith from Watch It Played was there. Marty and Tony from Rolling Dice and Taking Names. And
totally jealous. You guys posting pictures.
Yeah.
Look at all these cool games you're playing. Hey.
I didn't text you a picture this time.
No, not this time.
Not this time. But anyhow, so we all got to, basically they were showing off their new games. It was very cool. They were showing off, they're basically, I went to Cool Mini Expo 2 years ago, and they were showing off like the 3 new games they were coming out with this year. This time they were showing off like 30. So I did not get a chance to play all of them. I had a chance to play some of them. The ones I played, from bottom to top, Looterz was a very simple, fun little kind of dice chucking game where you would have some looters that you would be playing from a handful of cards in front of you, and then you would decide whether you would attack someone else's looter or try to steal gold from the pile. And once someone got 10 gold or whatever the number was, depending on the number of players, you win. But they all have special powers. Very light, but fun. Actually, I didn't play any bad games from them. Then, let's see. Ooh, these next 3 are hard. I'll go with Arcadia Quest Pets. They've added pets to Arcadia Quest. Arcadia Quest was already amazing. Now they added these cute little pets. You each get a pet, and you can even get more than one pet. And your pets can get armor.
Ooh.
So I really enjoyed that. It was fun. I think this is going to bring a lot of... My kids are going to go crazy when they see all these little pets you can get. There's all sorts of things. And I even... you have these different goals that you have to get when you play Arcadia Quest. I added a new goal for myself, a private goal of killing as many pets as I could. And then I got a especially private goal, more so if I killed a cat. Someone pointed out that my pet was a little lion and that lions are cats, but I don't believe that's true. I know that's what scientists say, but I just don't see it. The lion is the king of the jungle. A cat is the king of sarcasm. I'm going way off topic here.
A little bit.
It was a really fun addition to the game. Then Bloodborne, the card game. Now, I have not played Bloodborne, the video game. Have either of you?
No.
Apparently, well, I'm never going to play it after playing this card game because the pictures on the card game were creeping me out. And if these things were coming after me in a video game, they're just these nasty. I mean, like the one main bad guy we fought was a wet nurse. And I was looking at her, and I'm using her in quotation marks there, thinking like logistics and stuff. It was just very difficult to imagine the word wet nurse about this thing. Anyhow, so you're fighting enemies in this game, and the best way to describe it, I think, is very similar to Cutthroat Caverns, but a much more streamlined, faster way, where an enemy will show up, and you're all hitting this enemy with different weapons. It's a hand-building game where you have a hand of cards, and you play these cards, and when you play one card, you get to pick all your cards up again, but you can buy more cards for your hand so that you can have better cards. And then you all play a card at the same time and flip it over, and depending on what cards people play, depends on how you hit the monster, and you get points every time you hit a monster, but the people who killed the monster are going to get more points than anyone else. So it's like, oh, yes, I'm here to help you, Eric. We're all fighting this monster together, but if I could make Eric mess up along the way, that's a sad thing for Eric.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed that. It was just the perfect length. In fact, as soon as I was done playing it, I went and got some more people and we played it again. So
cool.
Then the best game I played there is not coming out to 2017 because they want to coincide it with the 40th, I don't know, one of the anniversaries of the Godfather.
Oh.
I think it's the 35th Godfather came out in 77 maybe? No, 72.
So it's going to be 40th.
So it's the 45th anniversary of The Godfather.
Oh, yeah.
Can you believe that movie's almost 50 years old?
Wow.
So anyhow, Eric Lang designed this. He also designed a Bloodborne game. And the Godfather board game was kind of like a Euro-style Blood Rage. You are placing thugs and different people out in a city trying to control different areas and messing the other player over as much as you can. You're playing cards from your area. You're trying to collect different resources to accomplish missions. But it was so full of theme. It was so messing with other players through placement and how you did different things. I was so impressed with this game. And this was a prototype. This is before they added pretty miniatures and all that jazz. I was very happy with this game. It was, if it was an actual published game, I would say it's the best game of the year I played so far. That's how much I liked it. So that's good because The Godfather has been slapped on a lot of garbage games. Godfather's been slapped on a lot of garbage stuff in general. Except for Godfather 3, which is, I think, the best movie of all time. I'm just
interesting.
No, I'm just saying random. I'm trying to bait the internet today. That's my theme of the show.
That's what it is. I think killing pets. Pretty good.
Knocking off cats.
Well, let's see. I went up for Star Trekkers, and then cats. Yeah, you're right. Then Cat Lovers, and now Godfather 3, best movie of all time.
Great.
Anyhow, it's a really excellent. So I also saw some other games there. Defenders of the Last Stand is not a Cool Mini or Not game, but they let other companies bring in game sets from 8th Summit. That's the Richard Launius game, which is like Defenders of the Realm, except it takes place in an apocalyptic future. So it's Mad Max and a bunch of other these future things wrapped up in one, and you're going around and you can turn into a mutant, all kinds of cool stuff. It looks pretty neat. I didn't play it, but I want it to.
I've played it. It's interesting.
Yeah, but I don't trust your opinion on this style game.
Excellent.
Because you said interesting.
It is interesting. You can mutate. You get all you grow an extra arm or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, but I like that because you mutate and it's like, oh, you have an extra arm. That's cool. You mutate again. Oh, it's cool. But if you go over a certain number,
then you die.
I love that. So you don't want to mutate too much. So anyway, it looked cool, and it looks like it's chock full of theme. And yeah, okay, ignore Eric. Potion Explosion. I've already talked about that, reviewed that one. That's like Bejeweled, the board game. And Masmorra, which is the adventure-style Arcadia Quest as a dungeon crawl. Oh, and Unusual Suspects. That's the, I believe everyone there called it Racism, the board game.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't have to be. And it was extremely popular. Lots of people were playing it. I think this will be a big hit this year. It's just one of those games people are like, yeah, we'll play Unusual Suspects. Let's just do it over in that corner.
I don't want people to overhear me playing this game.
They had a Battle of the Stars version where they had all the podcasters on, and I guess I was supposed to be on it, but I missed it. So anyway, they were all playing, and Z said they managed to not be racist at all over the whole game. For those of you listening, okay, this is a game where you have 12 pictures of people face up, and they're like just a bunch of different drawings of people. And one person knows who the guilty person is, and they're trying to get everyone else to guess that. And so they'll turn over a question card, and it will say, does this person participate in biking? And they'll say yes or no. And then everyone has to flip some cards over, eliminating them. So I'll be like, well, obviously that woman has never ridden a bike in her life. And it can get worse than that, too. Like, they're like, is this person, did they finish high school? Yeah. And then you're like, which people does he think would finish high school or not? And so, yes. So you'll like it or not. There's also an expansion for the Grizzled, which Z says makes it better. Tada, which is a fast dice rolling game by Steve Avery. And the new Rum and Bones, which looked really cool. There's a new faction where you can play a whale. It's like a walking whale pirate. I don't know. It looked cool.
Okay.
Whew. So that was Cool When You're Not Expo. Lots of fun. Looking forward to seeing these games in their final published form. All right, let's hear some bonus stuff.
And now it's time for bonus action. Musings, stories, gripes, and theories with Mike Rudman.
Board gamers have a wide variety of likes and dislikes, but I think we can all agree that we love to talk about games, especially with people who know nothing at all about modern board gaming. We love the challenge of trying to deliver that perfect pitch that will totally reel in a new player. But we have to be careful. As Eric mentioned a few episodes ago, in your zeal to convert the gaming non-believer, it's easy to get so wrapped up in your own excitement that you lose sight of the fact that the person you're talking to doesn't really care. As you're pitching board games, you really have to pay attention to get a sense of whether you've truly piqued someone's interest or whether they're just being polite. And if they're clearly not interested, stop. Back off. You're not going to win. You're not going to talk them into getting fired up about Caverna if there isn't some kind of inherent spark of interest for them to begin with. And if there is a small spark of interest, you may extinguish that spark by just being annoying and overbearing. How do I know this? Because I've done it lots of times. I've unfortunately even done this with my wife, who, sadly, will barely play Lost Cities with me anymore. But I think I've gotten better. I try to listen and pay attention, and I know my audience. I've gotten pretty good at the elevator pitch for board gaming, but I know when to shut it off. So, a little while ago, I was talking to a friend from work. I'll call him Bill, because that's his name. I had pegged Bill as a potential gaming buddy. Bill's a smart guy, very funny, easy to talk to, and interested in a lot of things. It was my time to strike. One day at work, the conversation somehow came around to games, and I asked him if he'd ever heard of a game called Power Grid. Now, I know Power Grid may seem a bit dusty to many of you these days. It's got a classic boring Euro theme, a classic boring Euro look, and it's not nearly as cool as Blood Rage, but come on. Power Grid is an honest-to-goodness classic. It's the pinnacle of the perfectly balanced resource management game. And I've got a really great, quick Power Grid pitch that I've tweaked and honed over the years. I talk a little bit about the theme and the object of the game. Then I talk about the constant balancing act between bidding on power plants, expanding your network of cities, and ensuring you have the correct resources available, especially at the end, and how money is so tight that every single decision counts, and that no one knows how much money anyone else has, and how the endgame is almost always a nail-biter. And as I was performing this masterpiece of a pitch to Bill, I saw it. I saw the sparkle in the corner of his eye. He sat up a little straighter in his chair. He nodded emphatically as I spun my tale of this magnificent game, and he was clearly hooked. I had done it. After I finished, he kind of just stared at me. I said, "So, on a scale from 1 to 10, how interested are you in this kind of thing?" Bill thought for a second and replied, I'm going to go with a 1. I waited for him to smirk or otherwise indicate that he was, of course, messing around with me, but that sign never came. 1? Well, I might have said 0, but your scale was from 1 to 10, so... I kept waiting for him to burst out in laughter and say, "I'm just kidding," but that never happened. Bill was not the least bit interested in board games. The moral of this week's story is, you never know with people, and you can't always read people. I'm not discouraged. I will continue to do my best to bring new gamers to our hobby. Just not Bill, I guess.
I think that's practically a tale of horror as far as his reaction goes. But, better luck next time, I guess?
Well, that box cover doesn't ever do Paragrid any justice.
That button is awesome. That dial could be doing anything. Who knows what that... It's mystery.
You know what that game could have used?
Intrigue.
Some good art.
Good segue, Tom.
It's a Dice Tower Top 10!
The Dice Tower's Top 10 list is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. Cool Stuff Inc. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.
Oh, folks, today we're talking about best card art. I wanted to be specific on this because I think that art in games is usually divided into 3 main categories. There's the box cover, which so many companies fail on. There's the board, and then there's card artwork itself. Card artwork can be, there's also counter artwork and stuff, but whatever. Card is usually where people notice the art. Sometimes so many artists work on a game that the art's all over the place. Like, I don't think anyone would put Magic the Gathering on here as a whole, but you could pick specific cards from it, right?
There are shining examples within that whole, yes.
Right, but I thought of mine as a whole, but that's because most of mine is done by one artist.
Yeah. Like some illustrations of Dominion are very nice, but then others are not at all. It's very uneven as far as the many artists that go with that game.
I think it's hilarious that you said that because I think Dominion wouldn't even be in my top 500 of card art.
Yeah, it was one I crossed off right away.
Because, I don't know, I've been reading the new previews of the new Dominion cards. I'm like, woo, I can't wait to play it. But the new art, I'm like, are you kidding me? They still can't get good art? Anyway, sorry. Don't mean to hit Dominion. Let's find out good art. This is all about good stuff.
Let's do it.
Number 10.
My number 10 is Bonanza, artist Bjorn Pertoft. And so there's sort of this indication to pick the rich and the deep and the realistic style art for this sort of list. But there is a tremendous amount of skill required to make cartoon art that's evocative and entertaining and silly and fun. And the art for Bonanza, these iconic bean images, are so iconic for that game. And you cannot think of Bonanza without imagining these various cartoon beans. And they're always doing something or feeling an emotion. You really get a lot out of these little cartoon drawings of these beans. And it really brings the game to life, which is what art is supposed to do. So one of the sillier selections in my list, but tremendously successful, is Bonanza, my number 10.
I think silly's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 10 is Werewolves of Miller's Hollow by, here we go, Alexios Choyas, a T and a J.
Sounds good.
This is one of the things I didn't mention in my origin story. Party games was definitely probably my first into gaming as an adult. and this was one of the first ones of it. It's still the werewolf game that I hold most dear in my heart, and it's the one I bring out the most, even though Ultimate Werewolf and One Night Ultimate Werewolf, I own them, but there's this one I just keep getting brought to, and part of it is how much I do like these cards. One, they're square-shaped, which is great, but they also have this great kind of tribal art quality to them that which is the right side up, can be different because they're square, or like how the wolves are essentially, the way the paws go around in a circle. The specificity of that style is really what I found most appealing. My number 10, Werewolves of Miller's Hollow.
I was going to argue with you about this one because I find this one too abstract for my taste. But then I couldn't think of like a werewolf game where I love the art, because Ultimate's okay. It looks a little fake. Can you think of one, Eric?
No.
What was the artwork in Lupus a la Tabla?
Oh, you know what? That one might be...
I think that one had some cute kind of...
Yeah, I guess. That one... Oh, yeah, you know what? That one has the were-hamster, which is one of my favorite... roles for the game. Yeah, you know what? That's probably my favorite artwork for Werewolf. The problem was that particular version has too few roles. All right, my number 10 is a game that we don't talk about very much. It didn't really make much of a buzz at all, and that's Madam Ching. The artist is Vincent Dutrait, who I think I will spoil it now by saying he is probably my favorite artist as a general for card artwork. I think his stuff is amazing. It's very evocative, and I'm going to mention him a couple more times, but I could have mentioned him even more. Madam Ching is a game about trying to impress Madam Ching, the pirate, and you are going to race across the board, and you're using cards. But if you take all these cards and lay them out, they make some panorama scenes. They're beautiful, like showing the different sea and the different times of day. I love them. I love the artwork in this game totally. But yeah, Vincent Dutrait, he's also done some great... I almost put Augustus on the list, and the recently Broom Service. He just has really good art on his stuff.
Mm-hmm. Number 9.
My number 9 is King of Tokyo. And when you think of King of Tokyo, you often think mostly of the iconic monsters, the stand-ups, the standees, and their accompanying dials and stuff. But when you get into the deck of ability cards, there's a lot in there, not just the 6 monsters that come in the game, but lots of varieties of monsters, and there's often a lot of humor in there, sort of little mini vignettes and scenes as you see what these particular powers do in a particular situation. It's fun to explore that deck, specifically because of the art in King of Tokyo, my number 9.
Yeah, this was kind of close on my list, too. Also, the Halloween expansion of King of Tokyo, where they put the monsters in costumes.
Yes.
Is another great little... It makes for some really funny artwork.
It's so off the charts, weird in theming. Yes, we're destroying Tokyo, wearing a ghost costume. But, yes, I do like the artwork on these cards.
And that was Benjamin Reynal as the artist there.
My number 9 is going to come up later on Eric's list, which is great, because then he can pronounce it.
Yeah. My number 9 is another Vincent Dutrait game. It's a game I don't even like, but I love the card art, and that's Lewis and Clark. Oh, these cards are great. They're not only like kind of fun, cool artwork, but they also bring out a strong historical flavor to them. He just does a great job at bringing the Lewis and Clark expedition. In fact, when I gave this game a negative review, I wasn't a big fan of it. I felt bad because the art was that good in it. So, once again, another one of his games, Lewis and Clark.
I like it when how sometimes where the artwork in the game, the appreciation of the artwork becomes independent on the actual gameplay.
Yeah.
Number 8.
Number 8 goes to the comic book art of Marvel Legendary. A lot of people were upset in the first edition of Marvel Legendary that there wasn't different art for each edition of a card, like there'd be the Spider-Man card, and different versions of that card had the same art, but they sort of oriented it differently. That never bothered me. I thought it was just so fun and action-packed. Of course, now sets have new unique art for each individual card. It's really like getting a new stack of comics every time you get an expansion for this game, because there's all these crazy poses and action shots of your favorite heroes. Very, very fun, and it brings the theme out tremendously. Legendary Marvel is my number 8.
This is the one I might disagree with Eric on.
Yeah?
I like it, okay, but it's just not that fantastic. Like, there's a lot of games that are on my list here where if I could get blow-ups of the cards and put them on my wall, I would.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I would do that with the Legendary Marvel, and I love Marvel comics. I love them. I find these are decent. They're good. I just don't find them phenomenally good.
All right.
My number 8 is Tokaido. Xavier Guinevere Durin. Tokaido, overall, it's just such a great design in the game, from the board to all the elements. And it has both cards that make murals, which are always look impressive when cards get put together. And there are many cards on this list that have that same kind of effect, like the one you mentioned earlier, Madam Ching, but also just the simplicity in those little, like in the food cards, that just really great small pictures in that type of very nice, simple Japanese arty style. So that makes my number 8 Tokaido.
I like it a lot. My number 8 is Tides of Time. And I actually don't know. There's a lot of artists listed on Board Game Geek, so I'm not sure which one is the actual main artist. But I'll tell you what, that game is a small micro game that is basically, to me, sold by the artwork on those cards. The cards are oversized, they're large, and they're just gorgeous. I almost forget about the game sometimes because I'm looking at the art on the cards. Not many, but some beautiful landscaping and some backgrounds and things. Tides of Time.
Number 7.
Number 7 for me is Smash Up. Dave Alsop, Bruno Balixa, something called Conceptopolis, and Francisco Rico Torres are the artists listed for this one. What I love about Smash Up, I'm sort of realizing that I like humor in my art, because Smash Up has lots of tongue-in-cheek illustrations. It always brings out a theme of whatever faction you're talking about, and sort of adopting that particular style. But it also sort of brings to mind the tropes of that particular faction, and almost a parody of some of the classic moments of, say, Harry Potter or Alien movies and stuff like that. And when you play with that faction, you can sort of get to a card and go, oh yeah, that's such a major element of this particular group that I'm fighting with. Very action-packed, stylistic, fun stuff with Smash Up. My number 7.
Smash Up's one of those games that I always pick up and grab when I'm at the store and never end up buying. And every time I always kind of think about, and it's just every now and then there's games that you keep grabbing and then, oh, no, still not today.
One of these days.
I got to pull the trigger on that one. My number 7 is Welcome to the Dungeon, Paul Mafayon. There's not a lot of cards in this, but again, I just like these pictures of monsters. A lot of them have really big jaws, like bottom jaws. They're just really cool. And in fact, I feel like mine, for some reason, I got an extra vampire card in it, and I ended up just putting that vampire card in the fridge because I liked it so much. That's what makes my number 7 Welcome to the Dungeon.
One of the things that we talk about a lot when I'm sitting around with the guys and we're working is we talk about how great art has gotten. And one of those companies that you just mentioned, Welcome Dungeon, is Yellow. And I should mention right now, folks, a lot of people are going to give us garbage. You didn't put this game on the list. That's because there's so many games with great artwork. And I could have made a top 10 artwork of Yellow. Because they just seem to pick the right artist for each game. We've already had King of Tokyo, and now Welcome to Dungeon. And now I have another one for my number 7, and that's Niet by Biborn, I believe he's a one-word artist. But Niet, I actually do have the artwork for this hanging on my wall. They made a postcard set of all the different characters. And so I got them and put them on my wall. And then Yellow had released a book of art from their games, and one of the large things in it was from Niet. So I put that on my wall too. I thought about putting a lot of their games on my list, but including Welcome to the Dungeon. But I'll tell you, Yellow, their artwork just resonates with me. So my number 7, Niet, N-Y-E-T.
Number 6.
My number 6 is the game that Jorge mentioned earlier about not wanting to have to pronounce Marie Cardouat's art for Dixit. This game is all about the art, and it's all about using that to describe what you're looking at in a nice, vague way. And I have heard of people tracking down prints of this art as well, and other artists have taken on that mantle in later editions of the game. But Marie was the one that really sort of set the tone for this whimsical, fanciful, art style in Dixit that really makes the game what it is. It's my number 6, and Jorge's number 9, Dixit.
Yeah, Dixit was one of the... I think it was the first card game where it's like you paused to look at the cards and just kind of appreciate how different one card to the next was in its, in its subject matter, and sometimes it's even its style of art and stuff. And it was definitely the first time I was really impressed by card artwork.
Yeah, it was my number 11. I like it a lot. I will say that I like the original sets of Dixit better than... I like them all. I think all the artwork's good, but those first ones, it was just something like, wow, whimsical. And drug-induced? I'm not sure, but it's cool and weird. It makes you think.
And it means a lot, because Dixit's been out for so long, and yet to still be, so high up on these lists is a pretty good marker at how great the art on that is. Alrighty, my number 6 will come up on Eric's list for a little later.
Again?
My number 6 is another one of my favorite artists, and only one of his games made my list, but many were in the contention for the top, and that's Piero, and the artwork is Ghost Stories. Oh, look at those ghosts on those cards. They are both cool and very scary to some degree. Especially that lady with eyes that have teeth in them. That still makes me... But Piero is a great artist. He's also a very great guy to meet in person. He's fun. But he just... when he draws, I'm just astounded at it. River Dragons, Ghost Story, just really great art. So... my number 6, Ghost Stories.
Number 5.
Number 5, Tom and I sync up on, and that's Abyss, art by Xavier Colette. What I love about Abyss is they have all these portraits of these various, stately members of these factions. It looks like you're wandering through a whacked out version of like the Haunted Mansion at Disney with all the portraits on the wall. There's something in the eyes of all of these characters that sort of stare into your soul, and they have like a smirk all the time. It's kind of disturbing, but also very, very evocative. I like it. Abyss.
Yeah, it's unbelievably good. When I first saw the cover of the box, I was like, "What is this game?" But the box is just the beginning. Every card has just... there's a lot of different artwork in that game. All the different leader, or whatever they're called, the people on the council, the fish. It's amazing and very evocative. Great game, Abyss.
My number 5 is Shindig Machine. Carrie Barnett, Sid Mangle, and Adam Watts. I know this is a game that, Tom, you don't care for. And the game itself, or games, because there's about 7 different instructions for games in the box, I'm not the crazed about, but the artwork is so... It affects you in the guts, because it's very dark, and many bits are kind of creepy and scary. Like, one of the games is even like, you flip a card over and you tell the story of, this is how you die, something like that, I think.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I do like to, go towards things that do tend to be dark and scary, which is also why I made a note on that Bloodborne game. You know, I feel like anything that the pictures are too disturbing for you, Tom, is going to be something that's going to be right up my alley. And so that's why my number 5
ready to say
is Shindig Machine.
Yeah, I was like, when you put that on the list, I was like, what is that game? I think I'll look it up. I was like, oh yes, I remember that game. And the artwork, I guess that there we could see artwork's very subjective, because when I see that artwork, my brain's like, oh, I hate it. Oh, it makes me feel like someone just killed a cat, and that's in the bad way, not the funny way I was saying earlier. It's like it's the artwork I would think someone would draw or paint while they're listening to heavy metal. I don't know if that makes sense.
It feels very judgmental.
No. I don't mean that even in a judgmental way. I think that people who like heavy metal music would also like this artwork.
Sure.
It feels like the same category, if that makes sense. This would be displayed in a Black Sabbath museum.
Number 4.
My number 4 was Jorge's number 6, and that's Mysterium, art by Igor Burlikov, Mariusz Gansel, and Carolina Weka. This, much like Dixit, is all about the art and the detail on these locations and the dream cards. And there's always something that you can pick out after a second or third play of this. Some little thing that you didn't notice before. And the real trick is that there's interconnectivity between many of these cards. Some details show up on 2 or 3 different cards. And so just when you think you have the perfect clue for something, you realize that may also be the perfect clue for another card along the way. And the way that that's all been woven together in this game is kind of fascinating. And it's one of the reasons why I really like Mysterium. My number 4.
Yeah, Mysterium is great. And it's the interwovenness is something you discover if you ever try to maybe take Dixit cards and play Mysterium with them to see if you can dream in Dixit. Because it doesn't quite give you enough to help people find their clues.
I haven't actually tried doing that, so it just doesn't work quite as well?
I've done that. It doesn't quite work as good. I feel Mysterium cards are essentially like curated to work for what puzzles you're trying to solve in Mysterium.
Right.
Same thing, like I've done tried to play Dixit with Shindig Machine cards.
Nightmares.
Okay, my number 4 is Arboretum. Philip Guerin, Chris Quilliams. Arboretum, they're trees. They're really nice trees. They're really pretty trees. But really what I love about Arboretum is they took time and effort to design the back of the card as well. Because you get so used to the back of a card just being the name of a game that you're playing. And they crafted a nice deck of cards. I mean, they're really pretty front and back. That's why my number 4, Arboretum. Because the back is so nice, is why it's so far up on my list.
Yeah, it's a really, every time I see this, I'm like, I gotta play that game. It just looks so good. Fantasy Flight has some great art in their games. A lot of good art. So I'm picking Lord of the Rings, the card game. This has way too many artists to say. They've done a lot, but they have some consistently good looks, and it's basically the way I would imagine Lord of the Rings to look if I hadn't seen the movies, right? Because the movies kind of taint what I think of the characters, but still, it's amazing. The artwork is fantastic. I've only played the base game. I haven't played all the expansions, but I still look at the expansion artwork because I'm always so impressed by it. Brings Lord of the Rings to life. So that's Lord of the Rings, the card game.
Number 3.
My number 3 is Dead Drop, which is a cute little micro game from Crash. I guess it's Crash of Games now. It's got various artists that have each illustrated a deck, and depending on which version of the game you get, you may get multiple decks. The game can be played with any of them, but you can choose which design you want to go with. Specifically, I'm looking at the art of Kawanchai Moria. He did a Calvin and Hobbes style kids version of this, with these children playing secret agent using, household objects and toys. Like one of them's dressed in a miniature tuxedo and holding a hairdryer and interrogating his teddy bear. It's adorable. Absolutely adorable. And it totally makes the game, and it's the only deck I want to play with, although there's lots of others that, have great little themes as well. This was the one that I always want to play with. The kids deck in Dead Drop, I am in love with. It's my number 3.
Yeah, he's done, it looks like he did the new artwork for Catacombs too, which I really liked. I think it's the same person.
My number 3 is The Grizzled, art by Tignu. The Grizzled, small card game, but I just really like the style of the art. It's a little scribbly, but it's actually just really well drawn for these just very simple symbols of environments of like the whistle and the different things that your different soldiers can have a hang up about, and also the cartoons of the various little soldiers. It's just a cool kind of a cartoon style. That's number 3, The Grizzled.
Yeah, a lot of people like this artwork a lot. It has that distinctive style.
Well, plus the story of the artist is rather poignant as well.
Right. But I think that, sometimes people say in these instances, oh, well, it's because of that people like the art, but I don't think so. I don't think people like the art because of the story behind it. I think that they just like that style art. My number 3 is higher on both the other guys' lists, although is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll go back and try again.
Oh, I forgot to do one of those. It's too late.
You can go back and do it again.
You're good.
Number 2.
My number 2, this is the second loop, but my choice is fire up on somebody else's list, so it's time for a third attempt.
My number 2 is Masquerade by Jeremy Masson. The Masquerade hit and roll type of game, but you're constantly switching cards, so you lose track of who you are in the game. But these oversized cards have just such incredible ornate portraits on them for all the different characters in the game. It's just really beautiful with a lot of detail. That makes my number 2 Masquerade.
My number 2 is Coup, but this is a very specific Coup. It was originally from the Brazilian version of Coup, although I believe it's on Kickstarter right now, or it's about to come out. They made a version of it because, you need 80 versions of these different games. But this artwork is by Weberson Santiago. He also did the artwork for Bloody Inn and Art of War. He has a very distinctive style. It's like it's like the pen. If you feel like this is, the people on his cards are killing people. I know they are. I don't know how else to describe it, but I don't know why this one made all the way up to my number 2. I just like it so much. It's not your typical gorgeous artwork. It's I don't know. It's my shindig machine. It's stark. It's a lot of pen strokes. I don't know. It's cool. That's Coup. But specifically the artwork by Weberson Santiago, not the Coup that has the revolution theming. That is not in my top 500 artwork at all. But the Weberson Santiago artwork is.
Yeah, that artwork is really cool. It's really hard for me to just buy another game just to have different cards of the same thing. But it is very tempting.
And finally, number 1.
Down to number 1, and Tom and I sync up again with Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn. This one has such striking artwork by Fernanda Suarez. And once...
Keep an eye on her, because she's going to be a big artist.
Plaid Hat Games found a diamond in the rough with, I mean, just, they are so lucky to have her. And I'm sure they're trying to get her to do as much illustration as they can before somebody else.
She did some of the artwork on the new, Dead of Winter.
Yes, well, she was really the primary artist on Dead of Winter as well. But in Ashes, there are some pieces in there that have a real emotional connection. There's one, I want to say it's called Sacrifice or something, where one character is like holding another one as they dissolve in his arms. It's like, what is going on right there? What's the story behind this? It really makes you feel something. And a lot of cards in this set do that, not to mention all the colors and it just pops out of the card stock. Really great stuff. Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn, my number 1 for best card art.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Eric, everything he said. It's amazing. When I was making this list, I put it on my list without even thinking.
Yeah. And my number 1, which was number 2 on Eric's and number 3 on Tom's, is Time Stories.
Woohoo!
Ben Carr, Vincent Dutrait, David Lecosu, Pascal Quido. Just this, as far as like mural cards that create a picture, this is, definitely, the cream of the crop, because there's 2 sides to the story. So after you've painted the large picture, to get to zoom in onto what's behind, the wall around the corner, or what's this guy up to. It just really, it makes great and tells a story better than any game cards that, I've seen. Time Stories, my number 1.
What I think is amazing about Time Stories is that each set of cards, each expansion so far has a different artist, main artist on it. Now, my favorite is the third one, the Prophecy of Dragons, because that's Vincent Dutrait. I just think he's amazing. But the first one, Asylum, was like, wow. And, I mean, each one, Marcy Case was cool. The latest one, Under the Mask, just some really amazing artwork. It's so evocative. And what I think is cool is you look at these cards and you see this beautiful panorama. Then you turn the card over and it shows like the guy that you went to talk to on that card up closer. It's really cool. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like another unique piece of art. I love the art.
Yeah, I've only played the base game, the first story so far, but also, the characters in that one are also so great. The portraits as when you're choosing who you're going to play as.
Yes. I mean, you get to explore the panorama. You get to explore the art. It's like, this painting, I want to see more of this, and you get to zoom in on that section. It's neat to explore. You have this hands-on relationship with the art in the game.
So those are our top 10 card artworks. Does anyone have any honorable mentions?
I wanted to just kind of give a shout out to the game Skull, because it doesn't quite fit in the card category, these coasters that you play with, but I could definitely see it not be overlooked if you're kind of just general game artwork or board games or boxes, but they're just really cool looking. Both the flowers and the skull pictures are so cool. And they also have really nice backs. That's one of the games I play most often, because that's also another good portable game to take places and just bring out, because it's very quick to teach. You play like any kind of bar situation. Skull's definitely one. Nothing Personal, the Associates expansion.
Nice.
Aren't you kind of biased there?
What?
I almost put Nothing Personal on my list.
How dare you?
You have your own card, I think.
That's the reason it's there. I was going to put it on the real list, but I was like, no, I'm just going to have to put it in the honorable mentions.
No, but I will say this. I tend to not think about Nothing Personal on my list because I designed it and all, but Dan May and the guys that he basically brought on, especially Lucas, did such a phenomenal job on those. They did a good job at taking real people and making them look like gangsters. It doesn't look like they're those real people.
Right.
They look like gangsters, and I like that. I mean, Eric's character looks like a sleazy lounge guy from the 20s or 30s.
Oh, yeah. It's still the splash image on my iPad. Anytime I power the thing up, that's what I get to see.
Yeah, and I look meaner than I've ever looked.
Yeah, you really do. But, I mean, and then the people that they just made up, they made up a lot of people, they look like cool gangsters.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And the ones that are like,
to those
the
guys.
ones where they take the movie gangsters and do portraits for them too. They look great, and you see like has that great spitting imageness quality in it, but yet it's still kind of a stylish cartoon. I was just funny. I just forgot Eric is in the game because when I was looking at the different people's games that we were all going to talk about, and I came across a video review of Eric's, and I realized that, oh, this is the first time I've seen what he looks like. And I guess it's not. It's the second, because I've seen that card before.
There you go.
All right, well, let's see what our contributors
I want to
think.
say one more thing, just because when I was doing Board Game Geek and I was putting in some stuff, I came across, I had no idea this was either happening, but Codenames has a pictures version.
Coming, yeah.
That's coming. And just that picture of the grid, of the photo of the grid of the different pictures on it, there's like a chimp in a spacesuit holding a space helmet. And there's another one that's just a bunch of tentacles. So if that only existed, I know it'd be on my list.
It's coming. It's coming.
Thanks for listening. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. This episode, number 459, was recorded on May 19th, 2016. Coming up next week, how do you deal with obnoxious players in a game store? Find out what our contributors have to say. Support for this podcast comes from listeners like you. Thank you for your continued support. And speaking of support, the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund is dedicated to providing support to members of the board gaming community in their hour of need. Find out how you can help at jackvassell.org. The Dice Tower is produced by Tom and me, with production assistance from Jason Thompson, Itai Perez, Eric Matthews, and Rob Searing. Our theme was composed by Timothy Pinkham. Permanent changes to the island provided by Lost Legacy. And hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at CoolStuffInc.com. We love feedback. Visit the Dice Tower Guild at BoardGameGeek.com, email us at thedicetower@gmail.com, or follow us on Facebook. And of course, you can find more from the Dice Tower Network, including the Out of Game podcast, 20 Minutes of Filler, Board Game Corner, the D6 Generation, the Geek All-Stars, Blue Peg, Pink Peg, and Board Game Breakfast at DicetowerNetwork.com. Until next time, from all the gang at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming. So what board games would Hurley play?
Oh,
if he could choose, if he had full run of the
interesting.
Not chess. I know it's not chess for sure.
I'm trying to think, there was. I remember when we went when they created the Hatch set. You know, we kind of like seeing what games were, because like I guess Backgammon had shown up. I think as far as like actual other games, that's a good question.
He discovers that hidden game store on the island.
Maybe role playing.
Yeah, I could see
role playing
that.
games
For sure.
in his head, playing all the characters.
Sure.